Hello everyone, welcome back to the Crypto Geo channel. I'm bringing you some TA today instead of news. So I'll pretty much be looking mostly at the weekly charts just to see what the market's doing, what I think crypto will be doing in the next week to 2 weeks, maybe a month or so. This is going to be all pretty broad, nothing too specific. But yeah, let's just get right into it. So the first thing, before we start looking at crypto, I'm going to be looking at the DXY, the US dollar currency index. So this, if you don't know what it is, it's like a basket of other currencies measured relative to the US dollar. So when this goes up, this means the US dollar is strong and you can buy things abroad for less money. On the contrary, when it goes down, things become more expensive to buy internationally on average. So if we could see from the past like 4 weeks ago, it's been a strong uptrend. I mean, going from about almost 101 to 105 and a half or so, nearly a 5% increase, which is massive for something like this. But as we can see, as I've outlined in green, this was a previous resistance in the past, which turned into support a couple times and then turned back into resistance, and we're approaching it one more time. So it remains to be seen, will this once again act as resistance, or are we going to break through it and continue upward? If that happens, the market is likely to tank since it's anti-correlated to everything, and it will not be looking too good for stocks and crypto. So this is definitely something to keep an eye on in the next like week or two. All right, so that's enough about the DXY. Now on to the S&P. Okay, so if we look at the S&P, we broke out of this downward sloping resistance since the beginning of the bear market, really in January of 22, and we got rejected from the 236 Fibonacci level, and we're approaching it one more time. This Fibonacci is drawn from the bottom of the COVID lows. So we've got some VRVP support over here from the $39, $35 level to the $38.50. So we really want to see a bounce here, especially with the DXY reaching resistance. It would be good to see the DXY drop and the S&P go up from here. However, I mean, DXY is looking really strong. We just kind of flipped a little bit bearish on the RSI. It's like too early to tell, really. Just kind of crossed a little bit, doesn't mean too much. The stochastic RSI is also starting to trend downwards. So it's not looking too good overall. So honestly, I think if we break through this level, we're going to re-enter this downward sloping resistance. We're probably going to break the 382. We might literally teleport down to the 0.5 Fibonacci around 3,500. I mean, it's going to take a month minimum at least. Like that's a steep drop. How far is that? Yeah, an 11% drop. Yeah, it's not gonna happen overnight. But I think it could be relatively quick traveling back down there. I'm not shorting here, just FYI. I'm gonna wait to see how we respond to this level. Possibly I may short, like enter down somewhere over here a little bit. Like if we break down out of here, put a stop somewhere around there, maybe target the bottom. No, I'm not shorting. Screw that. I'm not shorting on the weekly. It's too much time. I'm impatient. Okay. Anyway, that's enough about the S&P. NASDAQ and Dow Jones look pretty similar. If we look at the NASDAQ, it's fairly similar, just looks a little bit more bullish. It's got some more support below it. It's got the golden pocket from the Fibonacci below it as well. It's not as far down. RSI hasn't quite turned bearish yet, and the OBV looks a little bit better, looks more convincing. It's been up more. So, I mean, granted, these things really follow each other pretty well. NASDAQ just a little more volatile. So, yeah, we'll see what happens there. All right, so enough about these boomer stocks. Let's look at some crypto. All right, so first things first, let's look at the Bitcoin dominance. Yeah, as you can see, it's really been stuck between this 48 or so percent and 39% range since, when is this? May of 21. Just kind of been bouncing back and forth, up and down, and now it's like around the middle. There's really nothing too conclusive to say about this. This really either go up or could go down. Yeah, you're welcome. Thanks. It could go sideways too. You never know. Yeah. Point is, there's really not too much happening here. Not that I see. I mean, this is kind of some support now. We could expect to see it go back up again. I don't even know if you could trade the Bitcoin dominance. It's just more of a measure to see how the market's doing. Well, how the crypto market's doing related to Bitcoin. Be interesting. If any of you know if you could trade Bitcoin dominance, let me know because that would be kind of cool. I'm not really gonna look into the total crypto market cap and the total crypto market cap minus Bitcoin because they're incredibly similar to both Bitcoin and ETH. So we'll just leave these and look at them in a little bit. So let's look at Bitcoin first. All right, so Bitcoin's kind of been stuck since this was the Luna crash, I believe. Yeah, that was Luna. This was FTX. It's been stuck between this 25,000 and $18,000 level for the most part. Other than FTX, it really dumped down to about 16, like high $15,000. But then it just kind of re-jumped back into this range as if nothing really happened. So yeah, let's see what's going on. Bitcoin broke out of this OBV, downward sloping resistance, a little while ago. Yeah, on this fat candle around January 23rd. And it's kind of been trending upward for the most part, which is looking fairly good. But the fact that it got rejected at the $25,000 level twice is really not the best look for Bitcoin. So I think what Bitcoin's going to go through is going to be heavily dependent on what the rest of the market does. It's still got some steam left in it. I mean, RSI is going up. The stochastic RSI was starting to trend downward, but then kind of turned back around. So, I mean, when Bitcoin pumps, it just fucking pumps. Like, it doesn't give a shit. Like, going up for Bitcoin and for crypto in general does not mean it's coming back down, like, anytime soon. So, we'll see what happens there. One thing to take into account is that... no, that shouldn't be here. I messed that up. I did that backwards. That shouldn't be in the weekly. Yeah. Okay, anyway, what am I looking for? First of all, I'm not shorting this. There's just no point. Not the best risk to reward. I mean, you'd have to travel it all the way back down to 18,000. As I told you before, I'm impatient. I don't trade the weekly. I just use this to look at market direction and then trade. Really on the daily, maybe down to like the 4 hourly. Anything lower than that, it becomes more like gambling unless you have a really good system that you can follow that works. That's more like statistics based though. I like following like the trend more than anything. So what I'm looking for, hoping we can get like a bounce around the $22,000 level. I do think it's gonna dip down a bit. If not there, I think I'm gonna start building a long position around like below the $20,000 mark. I'm not sure if I'm gonna do this with leverage yet. It really depends on the market, everything going on. I'll mention I haven't looked at any fundamental analysis, and that of course plays a role with everything. But this is just purely charting that I'm worrying about right now. One thing's for sure, if we do enter sub 20k, I'm going to start dollar cost averaging, just spot small amounts like every single day, and just like build it for like the long term for when we go back into a bull market in next year, 2 years, 3 years, whenever, however long it takes. I don't know. Alright, so that's enough about Bitcoin. No, I lied. Actually, let's look at the 1 day, the daily. Yeah, so daily I've kind of looked at the levels. I've charted the levels a little bit more deeply. And yeah, as you can see, it's kind of bouncing around this $22,000 level, $25,000 level, up and down. Yeah, and this was that line I was mentioning before. We can see a little bit of bearish divergence. So that's when you have higher highs in the price, but lower highs in the RSI. And this kind of already played out. Well, we don't know how far it's going to play out so far, but it did dip down from this top point here. One thing I may do, depending on how I'm feeling, depending on how everything's going, let me see this long position. I do like this level around over here. I may try to target just like a quick, like more scalp more than anything, like what, 4.5% target, and then try to run it back up to this $25,000 level. Chances are, if we break out of here, like, I think we could honestly teleport up to the 28,500. Like, there's nothing here. Like, no volume has been traded. one interesting thing is whenever you see like big volatile dips going down or up, they typically get retraced about as violently back upward. So the next one we have was this dump from 31,000 or so down to the $22,000 mark. Now, I'm not saying we're going to touch the $22,000 mark and just jump right back up to 30 something K. Like even this did take days out, and it happened because of Luna. But gaps love to be filled, something like this. So I'd probably target 25, take 50, 75% out, let the rest ride, and then go from there. All right, that's enough about Bitcoin. Now, what's a little bit more interesting I found is ETH. So let's go back into the weekly. Start at the beginning. Not that far. All right, so if you look at ETH is getting really close. Well, I mean, as close as you can really get to this downward sloping resistance that it's been at since its peak in November of 2021. It hasn't been able to break out of this yet, and if it does break out, it could mean pretty good things for ETH. Also on that note, the OBV, it's been in a similar trend like that. Let me expand this a bit. It's been a similar trend, and this one goes back as far as December of 2018, of just increasing volume coming in, like buy pressure and sell pressure at times for ETH. And it's starting to get squeezed, like in both cases, both with price and with the OBV. So we're likely to see a pretty volatile move for ETH in some direction. At least it's not sideways this time. It's going to move up or down. All right. But anyway, ETH is looking a bit more bullish than Bitcoin. RSI also strong. Stochastic kind of going down. What I kind of expect, I'd like to see one more bounce off this OBV, and I want ETH to come back down a little bit, also depending on how the market's been doing. More likely than not, I would trade ETH than Bitcoin right now, at least on a longer time frame, like mostly spot. I wouldn't really recommend leverage right now too much with ETH. Ideally, I want to see it come back to this about $1,300 level before trying to ride it back up. Like if we look at the daily again, yeah, this is why I'm not like leverage trading it on like the 1 day. It's really just bouncing back and forth between this $1,500 and $1,700 level. Not too much to do there. I mean, you could like scalp up, down, up, down, up, down, but I don't really have the patience to do that. I want to catch like some like bigger moves. Let's see. So yeah, RSI kind of tending more downward, stochastic also coming down, which is what's tempting me to think that we're gonna at least come back and test this $1,500 level before coming back up, possibly even the 1,300. That would be honestly ideal. That's what I'm looking for. If we start entering there, I'll probably start. No, I definitely will start building up like a spot position, just buying a bit, dollar cost averaging. Mostly, we're in a bear market. You don't want to put all your money in and then be caught like bag holding while everything dumps. It's capital preservation is like the main thing now. Just put like some money in to like remove like FOMO and just let things ride. Also, depending on what you want, you might see if you think ETH is going to go up, go and choose one of your favorite altcoins and start trading that one instead, because they'll tend to follow for the most part. Oh, didn't mean to do that. All right, so final thing, let's look at the ETH BTC chart, and this is the main reason I'm going to be looking at ETH more than anything. Like again, it's having this like trend, like this long trend since when was this? December of 19, like about 2020. It's just been gaining momentum against Bitcoin, and it's getting stronger and stronger. So what's interesting now is that around this, what is it, 0.08 to 0.086 like level has been like pretty heavy resistance. It's not really getting farther. It's not really getting through that point, but we're getting to the point where it's starting to squeeze. So I'm really curious to see what's gonna happen around here. If it drops out of here, breaks through this like support or at around this level, we could be targeting a 0.05 or so. Maybe that's a little excessive. 0.057 like ETH to Bitcoin ratio, and from there it might be a better idea to start building an ETH position. Um, Other than that, if we start breaking out of this, I mean, we could really target some pretty pretty heavy like ETH prices. I don't think we quite see the flippening too soon, but it's interesting to see all of these things lining up for ETH. All right, that's all I got for today. Um, yeah, the end. Peace.